Welcome everyone to Inca's inaugural web discussion on a very interesting and current topic, future of higher learning in Malaysia
Yes.
post-COVID-19 and beyond. Yes, we are all here to have a very aggressive and active discussion. So I once again would like to welcome the Vice Chancellor of UITM Yang Bahagia, Professor Emeritus Dato' Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Azrai Kasim, our three esteemed panelists for today, Professor Dato' Wira Dr. Raha Abdul Rahim, hello Prof, Professor
Hi.
Dato' Dr. Radwan Cik Ros, hi Prof, and Professor, yes, and our own Professor TS Dr. Haji Muhammad Kamal Haji Harun.
Alright, hello,
Hi Prof,
Assalamualaikum.
yes. And not to forget our awesome moderator for today's web discussion, the Assistant Vice Chancellor of INCA, Prof. Dr. Rozia Omar Jano.
Hi. Assalamualaikum, everyone.
And we have participants from various public universities, private universities, UITM branch campuses, UITM main campus, and other organizations who are present here today. To all of you, a big welcome. I just would like to take a second to mention here that in INCA, we not only manage the university's quality and ranking matters, but also value knowledge advancement. So today's web discussion is an initiative towards this direction.
I am Siti Nurul Ain Muhammad Azizi, your MC for today. I would like to invite to all participants to Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement, INCA UITM, co-hosting with Malaysian Higher Education Institution Quality Assurance Network, MyCAN, to inaugural web discussion on future of higher learning in Malaysia, post-COVID-19 and beyond. The main objective of this program is to discuss on some insights into what would be the future of higher learning, especially in Malaysia, as a consequence of this immense, unprecedented disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's discussion will be divided which will focus on two new challenges facing Malaysian higher learning and strategies on moving forward. Now, I would like to invite the Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara, Yang Berbahagia, Professor Emeritus Dato' Insinyur Muhammad Azrai
akan nampak nanti masa Dato' present baru akan nampak
his welcoming address and officiate the web discussion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to see the great response in participation in this web discussion this afternoon. It goes to show our commitment and interest on a topic close to our hearts, the future of higher learning in Malaysia. I'd like to extend my highest appreciation to Dato' Professor Radwan, Dato' Wira, Professor Raha, Professor Dr. Muhammad Kamal Harun, our three panelists who will share their thoughts on this very pertinent topic. As we are all aware, the COVID-19 pandemic is spreading very fast. The Movement Control Order of the MCO, directed by our Prime Minister, which says stay at home and break the chain, has restricted all movements and everyone should abide by the MCO. University Technology Mara and all other higher educational institutions have been affected very critically as all operations came to a standstill suddenly when the MCO was implemented on the 18th March 2020. All staff were required to continue working from home and only those involved in essential services were allowed to enter UITM premises. Most of the students returned home. However, at UITM, a total of 10,790 students are still in the various campuses throughout Malaysia. Some of them staying in the university hostels, where some non-residents remain near the university campus. For all students who did not manage to return home, UITM is providing necessities such as food and other needs. As for our staff, they have adopted working from home and held meetings via various online platforms such as Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, very successfully. Today's web discussion is an example of such a meeting. As for continuous learning, our Research Management Center has been organizing a series of webinars, academics on research, publication, and grant proposal writing. The Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement, or INCA, the main organizer for today's event, also has continued carrying out quality audit programs without any interruption, despite this MCO. INCA conducted a hands-on web workshop on article review as early as on the 8th of April 2020. All faculties in UITM have been organizing various open and distance learning sessions for the lecturers to conduct classes online. In terms of teaching and learning, multiple initiatives have been put in place with the semester rescheduled and started on the 13th of April 2020. All lecturers have utilized the open and distance learning or ODL system spearheaded by the Academic Affairs Division led by Professor. A bit on UITM's latest achievements, especially on ranking, we are proud to announce two recent achievements. Firstly, we were listed in the top 50 amongst the world's leading institutions for the subject Hospitality and Leisure Management in the QS World University Subjects Ranking 2020. And a few days back, UITM made it to the top 10 in Malaysia for the Times Higher Education University Impacts Ranking, which can be considered an achievement for us as it was the first time UITM is participating in the THE Impacts Ranking exercise. It's crucial that we leverage on technology and move forward in the educational forefront. In the current volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situation of VUCA situation, educational institutions should be in the forefront in embracing and leveraging on technology and be exemplary future workplaces. I hope that all of you will abide by the MCO as we move towards the new normal. I would like to wish everyone a fruitful session. Sekian wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Dato'. Okay, now let us move on now to our next session, that is the web discussion. This web discussion will be moderated by Yang Berusaha, Prof. Dr. Hajar Roziah Muhammad Jano, the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Institute of Quality and Knowledge Advancement, INCA, who is also the President of Malaysian Higher Education Institution Quality Assurance Network, MyCare.
Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for making time to be here today. I'm Roziah, currently the Assistant Vice Chancellor of the Institute Quality of Knowledge Advancement, INCA, and also now the President of the Malaysian Society of Quality Assurance Network, MyCare. We are together in this session. I would like to welcome everyone. We have diverse makeup participants today. We have private universities, public universities, and also some from government agencies. Thank you for being here. This title today, our discussion will be on future of higher learning in Malaysia post COVID-19 and beyond. We are via Google Meet platform, and we are live from our very own home. And thank you for making time. And take note, since day one, it's been mentioned by Dato' Vice Chancellor just now, all universities in Malaysia, public or private, have been relying on circular and guidelines provided by MKN, KKM, Ministry of Higher Education, Malaysian Qualification Agency, and all professional bodies in drafting and documenting their own MCO guideline on how to continue operating as an institution of high learning in Malaysia. Let us record our heartfelt gratitude to all those frontliners fighting not a fair fight at all hospitals, not to forget other agencies that have sacrificed their time and safety in making sure that we remain safe and dependable in delivering our core services to all our affected students and stakeholders. I guarantee all of us will continue in some way or another through online delivery. And from that perspective, we must treat and thank our frontliners, in this case, our lecturers, who dedicatedly had to change platform in just merely 2 weeks to embrace a new normal, that is online distance learning. This is an opportunity for some of us perhaps to embark on digitalizing a lot of our procedures. With that, next slide please. So the objective of this today, the web discussion, is to tap on some possible insights into what would be the future of higher learning, especially in Malaysia, as a consequence of this immense unprecedented disruption. So let's move on. So I would now share some, next please. I will share some statistics. This is very current from DOSM, Department of Statistics Malaysia. You can link to that that slide. You link that website. These are the numbers as of yesterday: 5,780 confirmed cases and 98 deaths. Okay, next please. And this is the status throughout the country from by each state. Next, please. And I would like to invite you to go into DOSM if you want to look at this is an interactive page, how it fared throughout the world. So I just pick up some of the statistics, the main statistics, and it can be used for us in general. So next, please. And these are some of the statistics also shared in Department of Statistics Malaysia. And these are part of the things that we will be discussing today. So about unemployability, what some sectors are being affected by all this MCO, and so on and so forth. Next, please. Again, we'll like to take note of the potential sectors, potential losers, potential sectors that will be losers and also winners. But some, like medical supply and services, will be on the upcoming. But things like perhaps aviation and maritime, tourism and leisure will be badly hit. Next. With that, I also like to share a recent survey done by QS, Quacquarelli Siemens. The company handles the ranking. They have done this one survey on the impact of coronavirus on global higher education. We can link you to this report. And this is about what it says is that 46% of respondents stated that coronavirus had impacted their plans to study abroad. And about 47% that decided to defer their entry until next year. And 30% now intend to study in a different country. And 8% no longer want to study abroad. This perhaps will have an impact on our plan university's plan throughout Malaysia. Next, please. And accompanying survey that they have shared, these are some of the respondent results that says, these are the things that they implement, several measures. 50% of the university throughout the world are actually switching some of their scheduled courses online. That include us. I mean, in UITM, has been mentioned by the Vice Chancellor just now, about 5,000, more than 5,000 of our courses are already online. Some actually delayed the start dates of their courses until the following semester. So next, please, if you want to get detail of that, I would welcome you to look into the survey online. All right. This, I would put it as a scene setting for this session. What we're looking at more of the post-MCO. We are well aware of the pre-MCO. The pre-MCO, we were operating like normal. We see many people side by side. Okay. But when it comes to 18 March, starting 18 March, the MCO, MKN, KKM circulars from MOHI, MQA, professional bodies, we have this social distancing. So now at that picture there, you can see there's only one person left in a classroom. But let's look at post-MCO. So all people are only no longer there. We are now just become a node, a connected node perhaps. Okay, so this is where we want to go into discussing about it, about this potential, what will be this post-MCO. So what happened in September intake? What happened to our convocation? So what about staff productivity? What about global networking, and so on and so forth. This, with that, next please. I would like to introduce our panel of discussants today, Professor Datuk Wira, Datuk Raha Abdul Rahim. So if you guys want to look at the detailed CV of her, please, you're welcome to link to her CV. Okay, you don't have to, but it's I think it's in the chat box. You can put it on the chat box. All right, Datuk Raha is well known. Surprisingly, she is actually from Datuk. Yeah, actually, your bidang, your field is actually genetic
Yeah.
biology. So it's very pertinent for this kind of discussion for today. Perhaps some of us, the 300 participants today, will ask you a technical question for that matter. Next, please. The second, our invited speakers or panel discussion is actually Prof. Datuk Dr. Radwan Cik Ros. Thank you for making time for us, Datuk. So, President and Chief Executive Officer of Majlis Profesor Negara. So, again, the CV can also be linked, and you can post it at the I mean, everybody can have a look at this CV. Very, he used to be UMK Vice Chancellor from 2012 to 2014. And lastly, last but not least, next please. This is our Professor Tan Sri TS Dr. Haji Muhammad Kamal Haji Harun, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and International UITM. The way I look at him, I would like to introduce him as he's the one spearheading our frontliners. Okay, so in moving from usual way to ODL. I know he's very busy, but thank you so much, Prof, for being able to come on board today. So without any delay, so next, this will be our session setting. There will be two, this session will be divided into two. So one session will be looking at addressing the challenges for the post-COVID. Okay, so remember my timeline just now. So we'll be looking at that, and then maybe after June or next year. So we will want you to address what or highlight the challenges that universities in Malaysia are facing. And the other part will be looking at the strategy to overcome those difficulties. So participants will be able to, as been reminded just now, participant can ask questions through chat box and also pigeonhole. Next, please. Okay, this is the way we look at, we distributed the job, the session today. So we would want each and every one of our panel discussants to look into all the divided section. So now we start session one with Prof. Kamal first. So looking at how do you think addressing these possible challenges facing Malaysian higher learning from following perspective, which is teaching, learning, and campus experience. You're welcome, Prof. Kamal.
Thank you, Prof. Rozia. Assalamualaikum, and a very good afternoon to all. Selamat berpuasa to everybody. Datuk Naib Councillor and Prof. Datuk Wira, Prof. Raha, old friend of mine. Glad to see you, and Datuk Radwan. Thank you very much for being with us. Now, let me share with you. I'm not going to put up the slide because I think I would like you to focus on what I'm going to say rather than focusing on the slides. But let me share with you some experience that we went through when 18th of March came and we were instructed on an MCO, a shutdown to all universities in terms of students' presence and lecturers present. However, the challenge is to continue on with the activities that we are having. So one fortunate thing that UiTM had experienced is the fact that we are not unfamiliar with ODL, because we have been providing the pendidikan jarak jauh for almost about 28 years ago. We started that, and we have some means to reach the students, even though when the students are not in the campus. So we had a platform. So alhamdulillah, that works well for us, and we built from that platform to now reach to our full-time students. Excuse me. Now, the one principal thing that we bank on when it comes to delivering the education on ODL mode is we embark on the Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, and also the Universal Design for Instruction for inclusive education. We have a policy on that one that touches on equality of education, and then equity, and also flexibility of education. And the principles that we put on in place for this UDL and UDI for inclusive education is basically based on multi-means of representation. In other words, the learners are allowed to be able to express their knowledge and information in a multiple mode, not only through examination mode, but all form of presentation, the role play, and all those things. And then we have another principle that we say a multiple means of engagement. In other words, we're talking about tapping into learners' interests, offer appropriate challenges, and increase motivation based on their abilities as well as their backgrounds. And the third principle that we bank on in this UDL and UDI is the multiple means of expression. In other words, we allow the students to provide with alternative means for demonstrating what they know based on their abilities, based on their backgrounds, and even based on the location that they are at. So we have some guidelines, we have a principle, and that is basically the principle that is being based upon a center called ICEP. ICEP is a center that actually spearhead our ODL training programs. This center focuses on developing an online class through a platform called UFuture, and they develop an assessment mode which also embarks on alternative assessment, and also they all embark on the assignment that basically the mode of assignment given to students who are basically under ODL training. And that is basically the infrastructure that we have in place. The minute 18th of March came, and the debate on how to go about pursuing our learning program despite not having the students in the campus. So we do have a basic infrastructure, and thank God we've developed from that. So the next thing that my office did was to actually deploy the online learning mode by allowing students to basically embark on the platform in a multiple mode. And we did a survey within when we started our semester on the 13th of April until now. We did a thorough survey on what are the platforms that the student use to embark on the ODL delivery, on online and also synchronous and asynchronous delivery that we work on. So we noticed that almost 36.9% of our students are actually on the social media platform, the Web 2.0 platform. And then there are other platforms like LMS, video conferencing, live chat, email, telephone, voice messaging. We even do postal service, postal activities to the student, SMS, and we hope we could one day embark on radio and TV as well. So those are the platforms that we surveyed, and when the lecturers conducted their deliveries, and we actually did a survey on who are embarking and why on what platform they're embarking, and we found out these are the multiple platforms and that they use. So with that, we decided that, okay, an asynchronous mode, or a synchronous mode of delivery online is going to be impossible to reach everybody, because our main concern in this is about participation of students. And we allow lecturers to be able to provide their learning materials in multiple mode, and we emphasizes to them that do not focus on synchronous mode, because our policy is no students should be left behind. 1 week went by when we started on the 13th, and we measured we measured the participant, because participation is so key to us. 1 week went by until the 18th of April, and we noticed that through all the various platforms that the students use, we managed to get by faculty, because you must remember, ITM have got its faculties in Shah Alam and Puncak Alam, and then we have got branches. So the whole system were measured. By faculty, we managed to get 95.84% of the students are actually participating in the ODL platform that the lecturers are providing. And then for the branches, we are looking at about 94.9, or rather 95% of the students are actually participating. So we're happy with these figures. We believe that we are capturing most of the students, because participation is the most key important challenge that we're getting. And we also embark on a project to identify students' accessibility to internet by matching their home addresses and also the internet providers throughout the whole nation. And we are working on that project at the moment, and the intention is for us to be able to gauge what would be the ability of the students to participate in all the modes of deliveries that we strive with us, or rather we start with the students. So those are the big challenges, among the biggest challenges that UITM is facing. Okay, that's number one, participation. Number two is the immediate conversion from a face-to-face delivery to an ODL mode delivery is not something that is basically accepted by all lecturers just like that. I mean, there are lecturers who are actually facing real problems, real challenges in embarking on the ODL mode, simply because this mode is not very familiar to all the lecturers of UITM. Remember, we have about 9,000 odd lecturers in the university, and I would say most of the generations like me, the baby boomers, are perhaps not as familiar as those of the millennials or Gen Z when it comes to technology. So, but the good thing about is that every lecturers have got the real intention and passion to deliver their learning materials despite the MCO. So a lot of collaborative work occurs between the younger generations and the older generations. I'm not saying all of the older generations are not familiar, but some are. And a lot of learning process actually takes place between these two groups of lecturers. And we were very happy to see that happening. And inshallah, we are hoping that lecturers are getting a grasp of this, the ability on delivering. But the key thing that the reminders that we keep sending to the lecturers are this. There are about 9 reminders that I told the lecturers to be mindful of. First is pace your materials that need to be delivered to the students. Chunk it up on a weekly basis to the student. I mean, don't deliver everything in one go in one semester on the first day. That would be nightmare for the students. And point number 2 is the amount of materials that is planned to be delivered for the week must be communicated to the students on the very first day of the week. And I will tell the student on Monday, what are you going to deliver until the end of the week? And thirdly, we said you must constantly monitor students' capability in terms of their participation. Try to track down the students who are not actually participating in your ODL because then you're going to have to reach them in other ways. Fourth, we say now that the semester has basically been extended to 22 weeks, we originally have all our semesters designed for 14 weeks. So we have got a 14 weeks items or materials to be delivered, but now we have 22 weeks. So you have time to actually pace yourself, to adapt and adopt the new mode of delivery. Now, in cases where students could get online on a synchronous mode, we advise lecturers to plan a day, at least in a week, to meet them up all in the online mode. At least the students could see who are in their classes and who the lecturers, how
We lost you, Prof. We lost you. You are mute. Prof, you are mute.
Please unmute, Prof.
Okay. Now, did you get me back? Are you?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay. So we said that lecturers who are involved in teaching any group of students, you might want to coordinate yourself so that you don't overburden your student. Now, if each of the lecturers are working on their own and they are not coordinating among themselves, chances is that students will be getting a lot of tasks, a lot of assignment from every lecturer, and then the students just got overburdened. So we have to really coordinate ourselves. And the other thing is that materials and tasks to be given will now have to be modified into alternative approaches in delivery with the objective of achieving the learning outcome. I know this sounds very simple, but imagine trying to construct your face-to-face material in a mode of ODL. But then we have our organization like ICEP to help you out. We do provide that facilities for the lecturers to convert their learning materials to ODL form. And finally, we keep on saying that every faculties, every branch campus must set a committee who could monitor and be fully responsible for the faculties of branch campuses learning delivery and assume full responsibility in the ability of their students to participate. So those are the items that we put in place in order to face the challenges of delivering the ODL mode. For some lecturers, it's going to be their first time. So I think I used up my 15 minutes for now, and I will continue on in the next section. Rosia. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Kamal. We got your point. So you almost covered everything, but it's okay. I mean, that's a good setting. But let's hear, that's about teaching. So now let's hear from Dato' Raha. So the challenges that are facing research and networking.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
First of all, I would like to thank ITM Institute Quality and Pengembangan Ilmu for inviting me to be one of the panels. Assalamualaikum to Dato' Azrai, Prof. Kamal, and also Dato' Rizwan, as well as Prof. Rosia. You can hear me well? Boleh?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so very interesting because COVID-19 has basically disrupted all our lives. And as a Vice Chancellor of UTM Malacca, we are faced with unprecedented tasks. Or we were faced with many new things and challenges, not only at the academic level, but also looking at how our students, at our lecturers, at our staff, into research and things. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to just share my thoughts on the situation of COVID. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on three things. I will call these three forces, and they are there because we actually are self-enforcing. That means due to COVID, these are the things that we have, these are the forces that have been put onto us, and we are actually under self-enforcing or self-enforcement. Now, the first thing that I would touch upon is technology. Okay, in research, of course, technology is a very important platform. There are many platforms based on technology whereby people work on it to further improve their research. And very interestingly, just before COVID, we were actually looking at 4.0. IR 4.0, if everybody remembers. We are actually going to work on 4.0, going online, working with 3D, and so very, very interestingly, what happened now with COVID, and perhaps when we introduced for IR 4.0 at that point of time, there were questions, there were skeptics, saying that, oh, can we do this online? It is not very easy to do, and things like that. And with COVID, you do not have a choice. So what happened was the technology was fast-tracked forward. I'm a genetic engineer, as was mentioned earlier. We always say that in nature things will change, but they will change at their own pace. However, with genetic engineering, you actually expedite certain things according to how you manage things. So in this case, what COVID has done is fast track some of these technology platforms. For example, the use of e-wallet, e-shopping, embracing big data, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. So these are the things that are technology based, that has been driven fast track because of COVID. And there are also instances where technology have been repurposed. That means, for example, the utilization of 3D printers, the utilization of laser cutters. So before this, we were just thinking about, using 3D printers for certain purpose. But because of COVID, we see many universities actually utilizing this technology to produce things like face shield. So this is where technology has been repurposed due to COVID. Now, the second focus, or the second force that we have to deal with the advent of COVID-19 in our lives is the science. Okay, there is a scale up of science whereby collaborations between not only institutions but between countries take center stage. So, for example, we are talking about sharing of data, open science, the seamlessness of information. So, for example, now we are very eager to find a vaccine against COVID-19. And as you know, if you've read the history, some of these vaccines took thousands of years to develop, or maybe hundreds of years to develop. And here we are talking about the development of vaccine within 12 to 18 months. So this is when actually you talk about how people share data, people share information. There should be, and if you're aware, there is actually an open access to papers published in the area of coronavirus. Whereby, as you know, if you're a researcher who publishes in Elsevier and Francis and things like that, they actually ask you to pay in order for you to get to the papers. But in this case, you can see there's already an openness whereby the researchers are willing to share their data. The third, and of course, when you talk about open science, open data, big data, you talk about, so the research ethics immediately kick in. So research ethics immediately kick in, whereby before this, we were very concerned, our lecturers having, making sure that our lecturers are ethical when they do research. So this is when actually things, because of COVID, ethics would be at its prime. Now, the third area, or the third force that I would want to share with you, would be looking at the behavior of our scientists, of our researchers, whereby the behavior is looking at the new normal. What sort of new normal are we talking about here? We have now social digitalization, where our researchers must, it is not an option, but must adapt to new situation. We must keep abreast to changes. We must upskill, reskill ourselves. Now, this has been actually mentioned, I would say, just about a few months or a year before COVID happened. We need to reskill, upskill, retool ourselves. But now it's here. It is the new normal for us. So we do not think about, oh, let's think about it, whether we want to do this or not. We want to adapt, we want to upskill, we want to reskill. But now, the time is now. We have to do it. Values and responsibilities. I would think that the information given by Prof. Rosia just now about international students actually thinking about where they want to go, or they have changed their mind. At first they say they want to go overseas to do their studies. Maybe now they do not want to. So what would be the implication of this, or would be the impact of this to local universities? If you're talking about our students going overseas, perhaps most of them would want to stay in Malaysia now. But what about all our international students? The students who have been coming to Malaysia to do their PhDs and masters. So are we saying that we're going to be losing these students? That would not be an option. So what is it that we need to do? We need to think, how can we do a long distance research collaboration? How can we do a long distance connection? How can we be seamless? So these are the things that we need to be aware of and be ready. Now, values and responsibility of each individual as a researcher, there must also be an enhancement of this. So for us, the three forces that would now be something that is very, very critical for us to understand, to adopt, to absorb, to overcome would be the three things. That is technology, whereby now it is fast-tracked, our skilled up science, seamlessness, better connected, sharing of data, and the final one is behavior, where I believe, although we call this the new normal, but there will be more new normals to come. We will not stop here. There will be many more new normals, and this new normal would definitely change how we behave. The behavior of not only lecturers, students, but also of scientists, of researchers around the world. So these are my early thoughts, and I think I will stop here now and allow for the next speaker to share his thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Dato' Raha. So that's very interesting. You mentioned about behavior. You mentioned about social distancing. Long distance research. That's perhaps a new term now. We understand ODR. Now you're mentioning about long distance research. Perhaps we'll go into that later during the second session. Perhaps you will extend that. What do you mean by long distance research? But let's hear with that, I would like to hear, let's hear from Dato' Radwan. What do you got to say about this? Well, Dato' Raha mentioned about behavior, right? Perhaps we would want you to delve into that even further, because you are the professor of management. So of course, university, you definitely have a lot of things to say. Sila, Dato'. Dato' Radwan?
Mic, Dato' muted.
Dato', your mic.
Your mic is not on, Dato'.
Okay.
Okay, we can hear you.
Please. Yes, your turn now, Dato'.
Cakap dia tak tahu. Datuk cakap dia kat sini lah. Orang lain dah nampak nanti lah.
Yeah, we can see you. Yes.
Can you show me? I didn't see any.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And now compared to the rest, now I'm at home now. Yeah. Enjoying my life at home. Okay, first I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me, yeah, for this interesting session. Yeah. But first, how I wish, we could reset the button so that, yeah, all this COVID will disappear. But unfortunately, this will never happen. And I also wish that this is only a dream, but also will never happen. We are facing now a new reality in our life. Okay, based on our topics, we are talking about a big group of what we call it an academic fraternity. Yeah, I would say in terms of number of students, we are talking about approximately about 1.3 million students in Malaysia, comprises of students from higher learning institutions, universities, public and private university, polytechnics, and also from college community. Yeah? And as regard to the post-COVID interventions, yeah, I don't see that serious problem, yeah, among the public universities. They are well equipped. They have, I think, enough resources, even though there may be some challenges, yeah, here and there. But I'm a bit concerned about the other segment of higher education. And that is our private higher learning institutions. Yeah, I think they are suffering now. Yeah, number one, yeah, as we all know that, yeah, we have more than 450 private higher learning institutions in the country. Yeah, of that, yeah, big number of them, yeah, they are a small size institutions. Yeah, so even before the COVID, they have serious problem in managing institutions. This is something that I think are long overdue problems that we are facing. Yeah? As a country, I think with the population of 32 million, yeah, we are talking about having over 500 institutions. That alone is already a problem before COVID. Now, with the COVID, comes all sort of problems that faced by all these institutions. Yeah, I remember I was made to understand last couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, a group of these higher learning institutions from public sector. Yeah, they went to see the government, to see the Minister of Economy, to discuss their problems of how they could move forward and to sustain their business. If there's no intervention from the government, they claim that half of them will go bankrupt. That's another issue that I think very, very serious that the country as a whole have to accept. Yeah? Then come to the issue of, Prof. Kamal already mentioned about how the institution, yeah, already engage their online teaching, learning. Yeah, I think that is something that we would expect of all institutions to do. But there's also some issues as related to this online teaching. According to our survey, that we did a survey, a small survey among the institutions. Most of them, approximately about 30% of them, cited that they have, many students have problem in terms of access to the internet. Yeah, I think this is something because the composition of our students, some of them from the rural area, that may have that kind of problems. No? Then comes the readiness of the lecturers. Yeah, even though I think we should expect all the lecturers to be able to teach virtually, yeah, but still, you know, there are certain segments, certain number of lecturers they are not ready. These are all, I would say, short-term problem that they could overcome easily. Yeah, give them a chance to improve. Probably they could deliver effectively using the virtual platform. You know? And then I read some articles from abroad on the employment security of academic staff. Yeah. So in Malaysia, we have approximately about 65,000 academic staff. Yeah, 32,000 from public university and another 33,000 from the private higher learning institutions. You know? So again, you know, the private public university may have no problem because most of them, they are on full-time employment. Yeah? But for the private institutions, they may have some difficulties even to maintain the current staff. Then comes another problems of quality of teaching, and then to source enough lecturers, and etc. etc. So when it comes to this, I think we have to come up with some strategy, allow the private institution to move forward and to have enough teaching staff. Yeah. Then you give me the topic on student unemployment. Yeah. So this is another issue. Yeah. Even before COVID, we already have a serious problem. Yeah. As you know, even though as a country we claim to have only 3.3% of unemployment, but that is only on paper. If you go down into details, you may find a very, very challenging figures to the extent that more than 60% of that 3.3% of unemployed people, they are from the youth group. Mostly they are graduates. Yeah, and I read somewhere in the parliament session, the minister at that point in time mentioned about 60% of our graduates, they couldn't find jobs 6 months after they finish their studies. This is something very serious already before COVID. But now, after the COVID, you may find the problem may get even worse. Yeah. For example, in Malaysia, as we know that the economy very much depend on the business generated by the SMEs. Yeah, 19%, 95% of the business establishment, they are from SMEs. Yeah, from that 95%, 70% they are a micro business. Micro means less than 10 workers. So that alone will give a huge challenge for these businesses. Yeah? So with the lockdown, I would expect that all these SMEs, they are struggling to keep moving, because of the cash flow problem. Yeah? I think according to the survey, they can only last for the maximum 2 or 3 months. So imagine, that kind of the environment that we are in. Yeah. So the future employment will be very, very challenging for our graduates. And according to the report by Bank Negara, they are expected. We were expected to have more than 4% unemployment in the near future in 2020, and also even worse in 2021. So this is something that we have to respond accordingly. But the government intervention, I think even though they're trying to absorb all the difficulties, I think whatever they're trying to do is just for the short-term measure. It is not enough to allow the business to prosper, to carry on. Yeah, and I think this kind of problem that will be there in the next 1 or 2 years. Yeah? Hopefully, we can come up with some other exit creative planning, yeah, to overcome all these problems. So that's my view on the situation that we are in currently. Thank you. Moderator?
Thank you, Datuk.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Datuk. Thank you, Datuk. You have put up a very interesting
But unfortunately, I don't see
perhaps.
I don't see all the other panelists.
You don't see us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Problem, yeah.
Maybe
just talking alone. Okay.
I think you have to click click at the grid. Do you see the grid somewhere? All right, but thank you for your points there. Perhaps later in the second session you can deliberate even more on that perspective. Okay, Datuk. So to put it as a conclusion, I think what you have shared with us just now, we have to be actually we have to pick up. I mean, public universities perhaps not so bad. Okay, we can handle this, but for private universities, yeah, I think I agree with you. There are 400 of them, but eventually, will somebody, government or some agencies need to think about that. Perhaps that's put us to the first session. Prof. Kamal have mentioned about planning. Prof. Raha mentioned about research and also the possibility of the three forces. And you, Dato' Radwan, I mentioned about this the issue, the employability. Okay, so yeah. In your ITM, we are actually worried about the class of 2020. What will happen to them? But you are looking at the beyond that. More, perhaps we have to face more than 4% graduate unemployment later on. So with that, Prof. Kamal, are you ready to move on to the second session, or do you want to go, Prof. Kamal?
Yeah.
So why don't you delve into the strategy, a specific strategy based on what that you have posed earlier on? Sila, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Rozia. Earlier on, I talked about how UiTM construct ourselves in facing the unprecedented challenges that we are facing, and basically that's how we did it. But in a bigger picture now, I would like to talk about what are the future uncertainties, and basically how can the university plays its role to shape the new normal out of these uncertainties. Now, one must remember that the university is an organization where knowledge, where people are looking for knowledge. It is a knowledge-based organization, and the university have every opportunity to construct whatever form of recognition you want from the society by demonstrating your source of knowledge and expertise that works for the society. In other words, if you work close with the society will regard you as a source of solution, source for knowledge, and everything else. And for that reason, I think that a post-COVID scenario would demand for modern universities to be actively engaged with the life and the problems of its community and the society. And this should perhaps become the model for higher education for post-COVID-19. Because this is basically an attempt for the university to resolve issues that actually arise from post-COVID, or from this episode of COVID, and issues of employability, issues of economic turndown, accessibility, and most perhaps importantly, safety, health and safety is concerned. And also not to deny the fact that the quality and relevance of the higher education is also measured by the extent to which it offers the possibilities for all students in accordance to their talents and in accordance to their aspirations. So I think this has been written a lot in many literatures on how the university can actually shape themselves and gain societal recognition of them. So that's a bigger picture or bigger context of the challenges that the university will have to perhaps think about in a post-COVID. And having said that, I'm not the only one saying this. A lot of other literatures are also saying that the role of the university in a society, in a community, in industry now becomes extremely more important than perhaps being on your own and considering yourself and an Ivy League self-autonomous universities just among yourself. So that interaction is key. One of the concerns about this new approach of learning delivered by the university through ODL is basically to impart a learning experience for the students who can then perform and function in the community or in the society that we just mentioned about just now. In terms of R&D, we can be engaged with the community and the society. But in terms of the kind of graduates that we produce, we also hope that this graduate will be the kind of graduates who can actually function and perform for the betterment of the society. Now, one thing that I noticed that in this new approach of delivering our mode of learning is that students are beginning to assume the ownership and responsibility of learning. I could see a lot from my examples. Whenever we impart on something, the students will start asking. They will interact with their friends and they will do their references. So basically they feel responsible in their learning outcome, and they say, I want to learn this, I want to know this. This is what I had from my interaction in the on the online or on the ODL mode, but then I have to do more because when the interactive conversation takes place among themselves, you could see that they are actually working very hard to basically go in depth on the content that they're working on. So I think that's one good force that happens through this mode of learning. We also target that students will have to be able to have a sense making. In other words, they are able to make sense of all the knowledge by putting it together and deliver it in a form that it does make sense to people. So these are the targeted learning experience that we want to happen with the students if we want the student to be able to perform in the society and community and industries. Another thing is social intelligence. Collaborative works and collaborative projects online could promote social intelligence. We also think that the students are able to perhaps the behavior, the self-consciousness of being alone in front of a computer enables them to come up with more novel ideas as compared to they're put in a crowd, in a classroom. They're always comparing themselves with another person, but now I'm on my own. I'm connected, yes, I'm connected online. I'm connected on the internet, but then I have on my own time to think. And students are apparently able to come up with their novel ideas and also some form of adaptive thinking. So these are another learning experience that we are targeting through this approach. Cross-cultural competency, the opportunity of bringing global classroom into the learning environment is there for an ODL, so students can interact with others from other countries. New media literacy is of course there. Transdisciplinary program can be put in place for their learning program. Knowledge management and virtual collaboration and even design mindset by having creative problem solving centered around human problems, by asking the student to basically offer offer solutions that is centered around solving human problems that perhaps could then allow the student to exhibit how they design their thinking and develop a design mindset. So while we are delivering the materials through online, we are very mindful on what sort of learning experiences the student can do, which at the end of the day will manifest the organization, or rather the university's learning agenda to the students. And all these learning, all these attributes and competencies I mentioned about is about engaging the student with the society and also the community. Now, having said that, I think the opportunity for universities to shape the new normal would be this. One is we are in a position to provide knowledge for all. In other words, the technology we are embarking on will have the capability to democratize knowledge, not only for the students that is in front of us, but also for the community. As mentioned by Prof. Raha just now even the research materials are available, but anybody can get access to it. So knowledge get democratized. The other thing is that we talk about collaboration and sharing of knowledge to produce new and effective solutions. COVID-19 obviously start posing us a lot of problems. One very simple example is the design of PPE for the frontliners. The medical team are collaborating with the engineering students and collaborating with our art and design students to basically produce new equipment that's effective solution for the frontliners. We also notice that there is more an inclination for the community to be fostered on civic conscience. In other words, be mindful that I could be a liability to my friend, and this kind of thing is something that can be nurtured in the university learning program. You don't want to go around and infecting others, and you should feel very guilty knowing for the fact that you are positive COVID and you are going around infecting others. So this sort of civic conscience is actually imposed to us by this episode. Okay, there is a real need to accelerate growth through knowledge integration with the industries. Datuk Radwan mentioned that the SMEs who do not have enough resources to invest into R&D, but rather they have to accelerate their growth more so after COVID. How do we go about doing this? The universities may be in a position to provide simple solutions. For example, automation of equipments, of old equipments. If we take, for example, an old lathe machine, for example, how could you automate this lathe machine? It's an old machine, but by putting sensors and putting programming in there, you could probably automate those machines that is actually owned by the SMEs. We talk about content curation to resolve issues, particularly knowing all the issues on safety, technology, and movement. We could come up with new policies and new strategies construction. So these are the kind of things that is basically confronting us. I mean, it calls for us to be able to come up with such qualities of thinking in order to resolve problems. Digital entrepreneurship, we'll talk about it now. We can basically order anything online. Our food are being delivered. We might want to upgrade the capabilities of this delivery and services through digital entrepreneurship. We also talk about technology-driven learning that could alter and shape the new learning experience, the mode of delivery through technologies, and not to mention that technology strength will have a say in dictating a new learning culture. So I listed about 8 areas where this university have an opportunity to shape the new normal for the post-COVID era. The bottom line is that the university must be able to balance its learning agenda to comply with the stakeholders and demand of the society. We must allow the industry and community to define our higher education outcome, because we have a role to play in constructing the economics of the country, in reshaping, reconstructing the economics of the country through the industries. We must allow also to curate knowledge and innovation for the purpose of creating new jobs, perhaps after post-COVID, robotics, automation, and to ground it all values and intellectuality is badly needed to lead societal improvement and betterment. So, Prof. Rozia, that's my basically outlook on what we could expect as areas of challenges that university can address and perhaps want to look into if and hopefully we get over when we get over this era. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Kamal. So that's a very lengthy suggestion. So it's good. I mean, take note to all panelists. This session are actually recorded, so perhaps we can later on edit it and perhaps can share with all participants. Good idea, Prof. So perhaps we will want to now hear what Datuk Raha has to say about further on this research thing. Also networking, please, Datuk.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Prof. Kamal, thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts. I think that if you put things together, again, we can look at the three forces that I mentioned earlier, where technology, post-COVID, we would be focusing more perhaps on the technology, on the sciences, be it social science or hard sciences, and also behavior. So in this case, we do not only look at how what is going to happen, but how do we overcome some of the issues or problems that that came about in relation to COVID-19. So for technology, I foresee that although Prof. Kamal mentioned these are the things that students would be embracing, how they embrace technology, how they embrace social digitalization, social intelligence. I feel for most of the lecturers themselves, as well as the researchers, these are also things that they must think about, not only post-COVID, but now. The time is now. Now, when you talk about technology and we say that COVID has actually fast-tracked some of these technologies that are available in the country and around the world now, but my thinking is that after COVID, technology will be faster tracked. That means the opportunity of people to exchange ideas will be faster. So because of that, you'll be able to improve whatever that you have, repurpose your technology, repurpose your machinery, so that we can together then overcome whatever issues or problems that people may face post-COVID. Datuk Radwan mentioned about graduate employability. I think one of our responsibility as a university is actually to make sure that the students that we graduate, or those that graduate from our universities, will be those who will be able to face this sort of changes. They should be ready with whatever knowledge that they have acquired, and having to stay at home, having to be innovative, having to think about how they want to overcome some of the issues during COVID would definitely, I would think and I would hope, will enhance their critical thinking capability. I believe so. And it is not only for students, but also for lecturers. For those who were afraid of technology, perhaps, maybe like myself, I'm never a big fan of going online, because to me, I still appreciate face-to-face deliberations and face-to-face discussions. Of course, when I talk to my lecturers or my colleagues overseas, it's a different ball game altogether. But again, being perhaps Prof. Kamal, at our age, we still feel that it is better to talk to each other face to face. However, if you look at our children, you know, the younger generation, they are very comfortable with technology. They're very comfortable with switching on their phone and switching on their computer and talking to their friends online. So these are the things that would actually then, the platform for technology would be enhanced. I would believe that this batch of students that will graduate, the younger generation will be able to embrace technology and enhance them, whereby things like virtual reality, virtual labs would not be something of the future, but will be something of the near future. So I do not feel too worried about how our young generation would embrace technology after COVID. The only thing that we need to understand or we need to be wary of is that we must ensure that with technology there should also be values. So this is when we said the values, the behavior of the lecturers, of the students during COVID would really map out what will happen in the future. So in this case, if you talk about behavior, it was the third force just now, but let's just touch on it a little bit. Many of those have been mentioned. For example, social digitalization and social intelligence. There will be less face-to-face. So in research, some of the research areas, there wouldn't be any problems without having face-to-face or without having going to the lab. But I am sure in the area of chemistry, in the area of microbiology, in the area of life sciences, in the area of engineering, where you do need to work with your hands and you need to work with your tools and you need to work with your machines and you need to work with your bacteria or you need to work with your virus, you still have to have that face-to-face interaction, at least with your sample material. So for the future, the challenge is how do we balance between combination of traditional and also online method. So this is where flexibility comes in. This is where behavior as the third force of the advent of COVID-19 would play a role. How to adapt, to be flexible, be tolerant or intolerant. Now, very, very important for researchers now is to continue to upskill, to reskill, to learn to coexist with technology. I think that's something very important as well when we talk about robotics and things like that. We have been talking about it because like I mentioned earlier also, the 4.0, IR 4.0 was a big thing just before COVID. I think in 2019, we talked a lot about IR 4.0, whereby technology would play a bigger role in the life of humans, but we do need to humanize technology as well, because there must be a balance. If I quote from a friend of mine, she likes to say there must be a balance between akli and nakli. So these are the things that I think is very, very important if you are a researcher or even if you're not a researcher, but a lecturer who feels that we do need to embark upon a new, a pioneering role, being a role model to our students. Now in the science, the third force would be the sciences. When you talk about science, we do not only in the future have to scale up, but we need to also scale out. Now this is where research has to be data driven. Research must be demand driven. Research must be relevant. So in this case, we need to now be more focused. We may need to do projections and see what are the critical areas that need to have our focus on the research that we are doing, and we need to deep dive into certain areas of research. Now, I am also saying that fundamental research is very, very important. when we go for demand-driven, when we go for applied research, we must never forget our fundamental research, because by doing fundamental research, this is when you understand the mechanism of a virus. This is when you understand how to kill a virus. Without the fundamental research, you will not be able to understand or to overcome some of the issues related to some of these problems. Seamlessness and being highly connected is very, very critical. And this is something that I think in Malaysia, I have some data here. It says that from data portal, internet users in Malaysia, there were 26.69 million internet users in Malaysia in January 2020. Internet penetration in Malaysia stood at 83% in January 2020. Mobile connections, 40.69 million mobile connections in Malaysia. Number of mobile connections in Malaysia increased by 175,000 between January 2019 and January 2020. And it is equivalent of 127% of the total population. So in conclusion, Malaysians have no problems with internet and connection and connecting to people around the world. Now, how do this data be useful to us? Now, this is when we can ensure that we collaborate, perhaps not on the hard sciences, but again, even within the hard sciences, we can still share ideas, share knowledge, share proposals, monitor each other, look at how my data can actually be shared with you, the person who's in UK. This has been done before, but maybe the number of people doing it is not as many. So I feel that it is a challenge, and this is the way forward, whereby in the future there will be more researchers who would actually utilize this connectivity to enhance and improve research carried out. So I think for me, I feel that we must do research, keep doing research regardless of any global situation, because R&D is actually the main key for a nation's development. The importance of demand-driven research as well as strong fundamental research is very, very important. There should be continuous support by the government and industries. Now, just now it was mentioned that most of our industries are SMEs and they will need the help of the universities. Vice versa, because in this case, the researchers will also be needing the help of the industries to allow us to understand and perhaps look at how the technology coming out of the university can help the industries and the society at large. So be flexible, combine the traditional and online methods, and inshallah, together we will overcome the challenges facing us post-COVID era, inshallah. Thank you very much, Madam Prof. Rozia.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you, Datuk. So,
did you leave the room?
you got me, right? It's okay. It's okay, Datuk.
I'm going to give you a quiz on what was my last statement. There.
Yeah, you got me. All right. Thank you so much, Datuk. So, well, we have actually a few questions from the participants. Later, after Datuk Radwan, we will come and revisit the questions so that you can have a look at what are the things that participants want you to ask, want you to answer. Okay, Datuk. Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to Datuk Radwan. We might want to continue what you have shared just now, but focusing on the strategy, but you have not touched on a bit on governance, the fact that I mentioned about governance. How do you go about solving that? You mentioned about private universities, all right?
Yeah. Okay, again, let me continue with the private higher institutions because that's our main concern so far. There are about more than 400 private higher learning institutions in the country. I think it is, for me, it is really a blessing in disguise, where when we have this kind of challenge, we should take the opportunity to come up with the right plan for our higher learning institutions' future. For example, this is only my thought on this. Yeah, as it is now, there are just far too many, and I would imagine, for example, it is a time for us to do a rationalization process, to consolidate all those higher learning institutions, for them to be effective and to be viable in their business. Yeah. My suggestions, probably we could consolidate, from the total number of more than 400 institutions. Yeah, we just trim down to only probably allow 20 anchor institutions. I would term that as anchor institutions. Yeah, this anchor institution will lead all the other over 400 institutions. They can be as where they are now, but when it comes to component of the degree, when it comes to the quality assurance, and all the other management for quality, we just have to rely on the 20 anchor institutions. Meaning to say, for example, we only have 20 senates of higher learning institutions in the private, then the rest, they are only outlets to deliver programs. So this is something that I think we could come up with. Or otherwise, the problem will be there forever. Since many years ago, then now with the COVID, the problem is getting worse with the small number of students in higher learning institutions, especially the small one. There are institutions with only less than 100 students. I think this is not economically viable to run business like this. Okay, for the IPTA, I'm a bit nervous about their position in rankings. For example, currently we have only 4, I would say, flag bearers of our higher learning institutions in Malaysia. There are University of Malaya being ranked 70. Then next UPM, 159. Then followed by UKM, 160. And then we also have USM 165. So these are, I would consider, our flag bearers. So they cannot fumble, they have to move on, and they have to get stronger in the future. So I think it's a very high time for us to consolidate our effort, because they are the image of our higher learning institutions. Imagine, for example, the international students, they come here based on the reputation, not only for this highly ranked institution, but with the reputation as a country, many international will come and study here. So in terms of the ranking, as we know that 40% of the weightage come from the teaching and research. This is where Prof. Kamal and Prof. Raha's role is very crucial, to make sure that the teaching will be carried on effectively and also research to be conducted effectively. So these two segments will carry a very high weightage on our ranking. Then only from the good teaching, good research, will come up with a good publication that will carry about another 20% from the citation weightage. The only concerns probably about the percentage for international student, the international outlook, be it staff and also a student. In the future, in the next near future, I would expect the students from overseas, they're not coming here, at least for the next coming semester. Then probably another year or so, there's no guarantee for them to come. As it is now, we have about 168 international students from 160 countries worldwide. Yeah, from that we minus that 50%, 50,000 from lower schools, yeah, and also those who studied language. Yeah, so we have about approximately in our system 120,000 international students. Imagine, for example, all this while they are the one, yeah, who cross-subsidize our higher learning institution in private sector. You know, they also brings what 15 billion income for the country. So this is something that I think is very important for us to address. Yeah, to know that, yeah, for the next year there will be no, or probably very few international students to come here. Then I would like to continue my discussion on the unemployment situation in the country. I'm a bit nervous after reading a report by Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, MIA. Yeah? I think this is something, if it's true, I think it's going to be very big challenge for us in the future. For example, yeah, they predicted the economic impact of this COVID-19 and also the MCO is expected. The economic our GDP will shrink up to -2.9%. Imagine, for example, yeah, we don't have growth, negative growth. And then also in terms of the retrenchment, they predicted, yeah, if let's say the MCO to be prolonged for probably another next month or two, the retrenchment will rise up to 2.4 million. Imagine, for example, our Malaysian workforce, we only have about approximately 15.5 million. Now, of that number, more than 2 million to be retrenched. Not to mention to create the new employment opportunity for our people. We are talking about those who are working to be retrenched, and that will create another problem for our economy. So I think students and graduates, you know, we have to consider the whole scenario of our country. You know? But I think after reading the MIA, and also I read somewhere from Nation Employees Federation, I think they are quite reasonable when they predicted approximately about 59,000 of our workforce to be retrenched by the next 6 months. That alone also quite a big number. Yeah, but I think the 2.4 million by MIA is far too high for the country to accept. Yeah? Okay, these are the scenario that we are facing currently. Yeah? But for the institutions, you know, they may have to look into the strategy of how they could create or to produce graduates with ready to face this kind of economic situation. You know, I think in the short run, I think nothing much we could do about it. But in the future, probably we could also have to reconsider the programs on offer, and also the overall syllabus that we are offering. Yeah? So that's something that I think the institution have to respond in the near future. Thank you. Hello?
Okay. Okay, Dato, you mentioned retrenchment.
Yeah.
That's very scary. That's very scary. So what about, you mentioned about the, I mean in general, what about presently staff within institutional higher learning? Do you think we are also facing that problem, that kind of situation in near future?
I would say in terms of the job security, they may not have problem as regard to the staff in in public higher learning institution. You know, they are a public service. They are part of the 1.6 million public service in the country where employment is secure. This is what we call it lifetime employment. They work until they retire. You know? So this is not an issue, unless except for just a small number of staff, probably on contract basis. Even on that contract basis, I don't think that the university will retrench them. My concern is more on the private higher learning institution and more so in the SMEs. You know? SMEs alone, for example, imagine SMEs from total numbers in Malaysia, there are about 900 over 1,000 SMEs, yeah, and they provide 70% of workforce in Malaysia. Employment in Malaysia comprises of people who work in the SMEs. Imagine, for example, these SMEs from that 900,000, yeah, 70% of them are small scale, micro size. Yeah, so they are not. They are very, very vulnerable. Yeah, very fragile. I think they are having serious problem, especially when they don't have enough cash flow to run the business. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. But at the same time, if we go like what Dr. Rahab mentioned about technology,
yeah,
technology will be expedite.
This why,
right?
if you look into the way they do this business in SMEs, they are mostly labor-intensive kind of activities. Yeah. Then again, you know, this is again, I would use the term as blessing in disguise, where all the SMEs should start to graduate from heavily rely on level, semi-skill or non-skill, to more capital intensive technology and to use to mechanize the process. I think this is something that in challenge in difficult times, they always innovations that will come along. You know.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay, if I could join this discussion, we fully acknowledge the fact that perhaps among the biggest sector of the industry in the country that is suffering from this post-COVID will be the SMEs, and they make the huge bulk of the country's industrial sector. And two key resources, I think, should be made available for the SMEs. One is technology, and secondly is a human capabilities, human resource or human capital for this. And when I said it should be made available, we have to devise a scheme where technology can be transferred from the university to the SMEs. And the technology must be manifested in the form where it can be operationalized in the industry. So for that to happen, you're going to have to really understand what would be the technology that could replace the so-called labor-intensive, as mentioned by Dato' Radwan. How could we simplify if we say we develop a very sophisticated technology in the university? It may not match the capabilities of the SMEs. They don't have funding to fund the technology. They care very little about adopting technology because their main concern is about their cash flow, paying their workers and whatnot. So there has to be a concerted collaborative effort between the university to reach out to the SMEs and vice versa. And
Prof. Kamal, I think I would like to respond on this. Yeah, I think I referring to Prof. Raha. Prof. Raha, to answer me. Yeah, we used to have before the research allocation of more than 1.5% of the GDP, right? Now Japan, they are providing about approximately 3.5%. Korea, they are providing about 5% of the allocation from the GDP. Yeah? But Malaysia, from originally approximately 1.5, we now provide only below 1% from the GDP. That is a reflection of our preparation for engage in the new technology and new discovery. So moving forward, I think this is something, the area that we could have to, we have to further improve on research allocation, and also how to bridge from research finding to the industry.
Yeah, can I maybe say something?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Just because we are very excited about looking at how we want to help the SMEs, perhaps, and making sure that the students also
Help the nation, Prof.
yeah. So I feel there are three things here. With the new normal, and perhaps many more new normals to come, there may be a different role of lecturers and institutions. So my call to my fellow lecturers and researchers, we do need to upskill, reskill, and also embrace the new technologies, whatever they are, in order for us to be relevant. Because it is not only when listening to Datuk Redwan, his concern is mainly with the private institutions. I think people in the public institutions should also be wary of the changes of the new normal that is actually embarking upon us. Now, when we talk about research, I'm now the Vice Chancellor of an MTUN, which is a technical university network. We have 4 of those in Malaysia. That is UTM, UTHM, UMP, and also UNIMAP. Now, I think the reason why these 4 universities were set up is to ensure that the students that graduated from these universities would be able to be highly skilled or skilled enough to help and to work in the industries. And I fully agree. We need to make sure that whatever technology that comes out of the universities should be relevant to our industries. Now, some of this technology can also be repurposed. That means if we have developed something that is very changgih, we can actually repurpose it to ensure that we can actually help our SMEs using this technology that came out from the university to ensure that the SMEs are competitive. And research, like I mentioned just now, we should have more focus on demand-driven research. Demand-driven research means we need to understand what are the needs of the industries, what are the needs of the society, then we do our research based on those demands without forgetting the fundamental research, which is very, very important to drive a country forward. So I think in a way, yes, the 2 key areas would be the resources, the technology coming up from the university to help the industries, and second is the human factor, the graduates that we produce. This will also be ready. When they go out, they'll be able to assimilate themselves into the industrial ecosystem. But not forgetting our lecturers, our researchers. When we think about doing research, we must also think of how we can help these industries and the society. So I think these are some of the things, upskill ourselves, reskill ourselves, and this is the way to do. Inshallah. So just a little bit from me.
Yeah, if I could add to that, one other thing that the SMEs can't afford to do is to train the graduates in the system, because they would rather have graduates who can come to their industry and start performing, because training is also cost to them, it's money to them. So if there is a bridging method where students, for example, final year project is actually addressing a particular SME's issues, then that would indirectly put in the training program both shared by the university and the industry. So I take note from Dr. Radwan's punya point that the new normal now is perhaps the university have to play a more significant and bigger role in driving, especially the SMEs. We are not worried about the multinationals. They're big. They have got deep pocket, quote unquote. But really, the one that need help right at the moment will be the SMEs, both in the form of technology and human resource. That's my point.
Yeah.
Okay, Prof. Kamal, let's say a little bit. Yeah, I think we know that almost all university now they started to use the online teaching, right? Is it going to be a new trend in the future where probably university will not have to depend on the face-to-face anymore, or probably at least to come up with the what we call the hybrid model of education. Yeah, instead of to spend about 4 years in the campus, probably the student may have to spend only about 2 years as the minimum residential requirement, and another 2 years probably they can be at where they are. They can do whatever they would like to do, including working.
Yes.
So, do you think this is going to be the new trend in Malaysia or probably in other part of the world?
I have an inclination to believe that we'll be falling into the second mode that you're talking about, the hybrid blended approach, where all of the lectures could be delivered online, but when it comes to experiential campus experience, for example, interaction experience and soft skill, perhaps that's where the need for human interaction to take place. So for me, the way I look at it, the new norm would be 50-60% will be delivered online or ODL, and the other 40 or less maybe for the
Or probably Prof. Rahab could answer better because she deals with the technical and also labs program, you know. So I think you are in a better position to answer this. Is it viable to have this in the future in your university, for example?
Yeah, we have to look, like I said earlier, even in research, similarly, there will be areas of research or areas of teaching and learning where there still need to be a face-to-face. For example, in ITM, we have done this online learning for some subjects since 2016. So it has been done before, but it is selective. And a hybrid is definitely something that we can look at, whereby if let's say you need to go face-to-face, and you need to have the skill, because for us, the technical university, skill-based, it is very, very important. So if part of perhaps the theory part, it can be online, but whenever there need to be a skill-based lesson, then yes, I think there should be a mixed mode or a hybrid, as was mentioned by Prof.
Okay, dear panelists, I think we have come to to a session where I think we have to be fair to the participants that attending this session. Why don't we allow to browse through what are the questions that they put up? Okay, then we'll pick and choose. Okay, so Nis, please, what is the best questions? Yeah, we have our pigeonhole there. What's the 18? Okay, 18 votes. Can you read that? Okay. What measures to be taken by higher education institution in Malaysia post COVID-19? And to what extent Malaysian university ready to implement online learning? I think it's already been answered by Prof. Kamal, is it? So anyone, any panel want to answer this?
Okay,
I think Prof. has answered for everybody already.
Perhaps I still
consider answered.
May I reiterate that the university will just have to engage into the problems of the community and the local industries, because we have a nation building agenda forward ahead now with us.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next question, Nis. You have a next question? What's the highest vote? When is the post-COVID considered post in Malaysia? Okay, Dr. Rahab, probably you are the right person to answer this.
Okay, like I also told my own people in UTM, we shall wait for the advice from MKN, KKM, and also KPC. Yeah, so but we must be ready. we do not know. Last time it was 28th April. Now it's 12th May. We may foresee, beyond Hari Raya. We may foresee beyond 2020. So just be ready. I think we shouldn't be too excited about doing a post-COVID because we just have to go through the COVID first. Hopefully survive COVID. Okay.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, what next question? Can we have next question, Nis? Okay, what is the best way to conduct online learning for practical and hands-on kind of class such as kitchen class, restaurant serving class for hospitality school? Prof. Kamal or Dato' Ridwan perhaps, and anybody? Prof. Kamal first.
I've been asking this question myself, actually, to be very honest. But most of the experts from the faculties have got some alternative approaches on the required face-to-face program. For example, when I interacted with the medical group of people and dental group, clinical practices, basically, as far as they're concerned, have got no substitute for the moment, unfortunately. So the best way is perhaps to equip your student with the PPE and take all the measured required safety measures as recommended by KKM in order to conduct this. But nevertheless, they are working it out and try to work it out. But on other areas, there are faculties that has already constructed some virtual approach of constructing kitchen classes or studio, for example. So these are very much discipline based, if I would say, and the acceptance of the quality of training will have to be agreed upon by the relevant bodies that endorse this. So that's my short answer. Unfortunately I couldn't say it for all the disciplines. I'm not quite familiar with all of them.
I mean, the way I look at it, the questions expect that MCO will be prolonged. I think that's why they have to come up with all sorts of measures of how the online learning to be conducted, But we hope that things will get better soon. Yeah, looking at the fatality rates in Malaysia, we are among the best in the world, 1.7% success rate. I think something that we could look forward. For example, the new cases is only about approximately 2 digit. 32. I think it's something that, but unfortunately, our neighboring countries, all over the world, the rate is not like us. So,
right.
For example, we have to have the border control more effectively, so that people from outside couldn't come here and again spread the virus. So this is, for me again, this is a long-term measure. Hopefully, you don't have to reach to this level.
Okay. All right. Anything, Dr. Roha? Any? Move to a new question. Okay. Next question, please. How to ensure that no student is left behind in online learning? Some do not have access to internet or may have weak connection, especially those living in rural areas or from poor family.
Okay, if I just get a quick one on this one. That is why our approach at UITM, we actually did not use the term online so much. We use open distance learning approach. Because when we say online, the perception is that you are online, synchronous kind of interaction. But when we talk about open and distant learning, we are using alternative approaches. Even to a point, if we have to post laju, we'll embark on post laju. Dulu kita ada gaya adabi. The Gen X will remember this. So if we have to embark on that, we will do so because our policy or our philosophy is no student should be left behind.
But having said that, you should also accept that there's a digital divide, yeah, among our society. Yeah, there's a gap in it. Yeah, so that's something that the government has to come up with some measures.
Certainly, that's all.
Yeah, the whole country.
I think if there is one area that the government, if I could propose for the government to look into, is enhance our internet infrastructure, our country's whole infrastructure for internet access. I think that's one thing.
I say, for example, as it is now, 80% of our society, they have access to this internet, and they have a good penetration. Yeah? 80% compared to other neighboring countries, they have over Indonesia about 60%, yeah, Philippines about 65%. Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more point for when I spoke to the industrial sector. Actually, when you enhance the connectivity, internet connectivity of the country, you not only enhance students' facilities. That's one only part of it. But the tendency for industries to come and invest in the country to get is even higher. That is what is being experienced by Singapore and Korea.
Okay. Indeed, indeed, Prof. We are not sure. Okay, that I think that's past. That's already done. Next one. I think there's one more question. Next, let me read number 3. Wait. That's one question I can go there about research.
Anything on employment?
Is there any other way to conduct the research activities, especially for postgraduate students to complete their research? Brother Rahaf.
Well, it depends on your area of research. If you are doing hard sciences where you do need to go to the lab, there is no way unless you can, well, again, there can be collaboration. It depends on whether you're in your final year or in your first year. If you're in your first year, perhaps you can look for ways to do your research in the labs in your own country. Okay? This is if you're an international student. If you're not an international student, you have to wait until post-COVID, or you can get perhaps special permission. For example, if you're doing plant tissue culture, you do need to come in and look at how you can make sure that your plant is not dead within 3 weeks. So I'm sure because of again the situation of our country, you can maybe if you're still in on campus to apply for permission. But that again depends on the management of the university. They will have to gauge the importance of your research. But meanwhile, stay put and maybe work on your thesis, your literature review, your materials and method, and things. So there are ways. Pray that post-COVID will come soon. If not, then you have to discuss with your supervisor and your co-supervisors on how best to make sure that you complete your research, inshallah.
Okay, this is where I would say the framework for more collegiality and commonality among institutions, not only limited to our institution in the country, but could also be extended to institutions in other countries as well. I think in the future, it is something that we could foster.
Synergy, right? Dato', we have to synergize.
Yeah.
Okay, can I read one question from the the chat box. It says the challenge of the validity of final examination online in light of the technological assistance access they may have, especially for subjects that are popular online. So what do you think about that, Prof. Kamal or anybody? No. That one, the challenge and validity of final examination.
Yeah, one of the things is that when you talk about examination online, again, you have to conduct this on a synchronous mode. And the limitations of accessibility would perhaps be a factor where not everybody can be on board. UITM is not embarking on this mode actually. We are going for continuous assessment approach. We do have exams, the like of an open book examination, timing the student to get it done in certain hours. Those kind of approaches are there. But if you talk about a final examination online, this is where the challenges of accessibility is real as far as we're concerned, and we're not embarking on that at the moment. A synchronous final exam online is not an area that we are embarking on. It's just possible. Yeah.
All right, to be fair to Dr. Rodwan, let's find one question that relevant to him. Anything on industry? Anything on industry? Oh, let's look at the TVET. TVET, Dato'.
Which one?
Education is for TVET. Programs can achieve their objectives.
I think this is already in place. Where I spoke to one of the officer at the TVET institutions. They already practice this, the online and virtual training for their participants. So at least for the short-term period, they are doing this because the allocation is already there. They only find ways how they could provide more of the online training. But of course, it doesn't involve labs and etc. It's more of the theoretical training.
Yeah. Okay. Anything from Dato' Prof. Kamal, Dato' Raha on that TVET thingy? No. Okay.
No, here we are talking of as if that the MCO will prolong for a long period of time. We really hope that it will stop as soon as possible, so that even though we still have to do the social distancing, but then things will be slightly different when we are mobile and move from one place to the other place.
Just a little bit from me on the TVET. Probably this is the best time for us to reflect and see how, as institutions of TVET, whereby the 4 MPs are part of as well, we can actually think about how the technology that comes out of the universities will be able later on, post-COVID, to actually help the industries, especially the SMEs. So to me, it's again thinking about how TVET students, technology can then help the industry as per what Radwan also mentioned earlier on the SMEs especially.
Perhaps certain segments of the TVET can still be run in terms of their training, especially those that concerns digital. If you talk about analytics, you talk about design, that could be done online online or rather through the software and apps and whatnot. But the real hands-on TVET that actually develops skill over the hands, perhaps that is where I'm sure Prof. Raha is facing that challenge now.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I think we have come to almost an end. We're supposed to end at 4:30, but past 2-3 minutes. I think looking at the questions that's still there, perhaps what we can do is to consolidate these questions and pass it around to the panel. If you want to answer it, you can still answer after this session, right? Would that be possible, Dato'? All right. Because the way I look at it, it's very engaging. The people are actually asking questions. These are the things that we want. Perhaps that can also be, we can use it for future planning. As you mentioned, we need to have that kind of plans, right? So with that, I would perhaps put this together as a summary. As a summary to what we have discussed up to this point. just a brief one, but I will write it in detail in future, next 2-3 weeks, next 1 or 2 weeks. All right. What we were discussing just now, based on panel's input, I think like what Dato' Raha mentioned, actually we can face the challenge. We can face the challenges, but we need to reskill. Right, Dato'? Right, and at the same time, we have to realign our productivity with the new now. That is a second point that we can put up, and the research would definitely need to be data driven and demand driven. And coming from Dato' Radwan, perhaps you are emphasizing on this, employment security is seen to be the main issue with COVID-19. So I think we can actually draft on that. And COVID has taught us together, has brought us together, right? We have to solve this issue. We have to solve this problem together, not just public universities. We have to bring together the private universities to be facing this problem, facing the future, perhaps, right? Do I miss anything? So like Prof. Kamal mentioned, we are already there, but I know some universities are still struggling. Some institution, higher private institutions are still struggling, but perhaps we can help that the message that been mentioned by Dato' Radwan, or we can work together, we can synergize. This is working together as a start, right? And the idea of Dato' Raha mentioned about repurposing. So yes, I also agree to that. Now is the time for us to relook at what we have. Like Prof. Kamal mentioned just now, what we have, how can we help the community out there? They're not just the SME, because there are many other things out there is actually that need help from universities. For us, our roles are still important. Universities are still relevant, the way I look at it. Okay, so that's I would say. What's that? Prof. Kamal discusses about the current situation. Okay, but it's okay. But in future, we want to perhaps can convene again in a smaller group, perhaps. All right. So with that, I would like to pass this mic ataupun this session to our MC.
Thank you, Member Usaha, Professor Dr. Hajah Roziah Muhammad Zano, and our esteemed panelists. A note of appreciation to the Vice Chancellor of ITM and all participants who are the representative from various universities and private colleges, as well as from other organizations who have been with us today. Hope everybody had a fruitful discussion. With that, I would like to sign off by wishing everyone stay safe. Assalamualaikum and goodbye. Thank you very much, everyone. Assalamualaikum.